This is live from my office, a service of Monkey Run Productions. And for those of you on YouTube, the guy smiling will be introduced in just a second. If you're just listening, wherever you get your podcasts, just know that he's smiling. And he's one of my favorite people. More on him in a second. First, let's talk about me, because that's one of my favorite subjects. We have another live show coming up on November 15th. We'll be live at the Copley in Aurora, Illinois. So if you're in the Chicago area, I hope you can make it. If not, fly in. And we have an expensive graphics package I want to show you. Let's see if we can get this in the right spot here. This is Mike Toomey from WGN TV, one of the funniest stand-ups in America. Tim Benker, hilarious guy, and the bald guy in the middle is me. So you can go to CochranShow.com or you can go to ParamountAurora.com and get tickets for the show. 5 o'clock and 8 o'clock on the 15th of November. It's going to be fun. Here's the deal. It's clean comedy, 98% clean. It's politics free, which I don't do a whole lot, but in this case I will. 99% politics free. And we're going to give away a big screen giant TV from our friends at Apt Electronics. I don't know if I showed you, but these are the guys that are going to be there. Look at that. Toomey, Cochran.
What's not the love? What is not the love there, huh?
ParamountAurora.com. Get your tickets. All right, a couple other things.
Hey, I'll throw in some coffee. I will throw in some coffee.
Well, hold on. That's about to be add that. Hold on. We're writing that down right now. A couple other things. Substack. Read me on Substack. If you're like me and you think that Donald Trump is not one of us, never will be one of us, and is a grave danger to the planet, not just us, not just America, I think you'll enjoy Substack. Weekly, bi-weekly, I write something called Twit, This Week in Trump.
I love it. And
I summarize all the jackassery of Donald Trump. So check that out on Substack. Just search my name, Steve Cochran. Again, it's live from my office, where we also do anything but politics, where occasionally we throw a podcast where we talk about anything but politics. And again, all of it's on CochranShow.com. All right, my guest, as I said, is one of my favorite people. And why? Well, because he's charming, entertaining, and delightful, and he's better than you and me. He's just a better person. I tell this story whenever you're on, but I have to tell it again. We were friends for a long time, and at one point we were having a lunch, and this is when I was a fairly big deal on the radio. I think I was on WGN in one of my incarnations there. Only guy, by the way, only guy to be fired twice. Yeah, twice from WGN, and both of them are Trump related. There's no time to tell that story.
I was proud to be part of both of them, by the way.
Yeah, which was good of you. So anyway, we are having lunch, and you had just come back from, well, there's a two-part story. They're both lunches. First, you tell me you're going to Afghanistan. And this is in the middle of the war. You're going to Afghanistan, and I said, buddy, you're in great shape, but I didn't know they took guys our age. And you ended up going over as a forensic accountant, which is what you are, with a partner to chase down where the money was being stolen and where it was ending up. And then secondly, you come back from Afghanistan after living in a storage unit in Afghanistan, and you were changed by that experience, which inspired you to start what's turned out to be the rest of your life's work. The guest is Mark Doyle, the CEO of Rags of Honor, Veteran Roasters, and the VR Cafe. We'll talk about all of those in just a second, too. But pick that story up where I just stopped talking, and that is the inspiration you felt to start. And by the way, this is the other punchline. I'm the one that told you it's a great idea. Don't do it. And you've saved lives ever since. The Rags of Honor inspiration. Tell me about it.
Well, the genesis, as you mentioned, was spending a year on the ground in Afghanistan with men and women who are some on our drive team, some we just worked with. There were only about 5 civilians who were part of Task Force 2010. It was mostly my group of forensic accountants. But many of them were on their 3rd and 4th tour by the age of 28. And when I came back to Chicago in 2011, there were 2,000 homeless veterans just in Chicago. And you were going to sort of recreate where we were. We were 10 years into what ended up being a 20 years and 2 wars. But it was about that midway point that you started to see the the backlash from 2, 3, 4 tours: homelessness, drug addiction, divorce rate, and suicide rates. And in Chicago, there were 2,000 homeless. There were 300,000 homeless nationwide in 2012. And for me, having watched $1 billion a month being spent for a year to clothe, feed, and train the Afghan army and police, while there are 2,000 living in shelters, in their cars, and on the streets in Chicago, it just got to me at one point and said, we're going to do something. And so what I decided to do was something that would have an easy barrier to entry: start a t-shirt company. Literally went to a West Side homeless shelter, sat down with 6 of them, hired the first 4, took the money that I made in Afghanistan.
First 4 meaning homeless vets.
Yep. 3 men and 1 woman. And said, you start tomorrow on a payroll. I took the money that I made in Afghanistan, paid taxes on it, and used to this day every dime of it to build this company. And so we went on.
In this company, I don't mean to keep interrupting, but just for background for people so they understand, you didn't know jack squat about how to do a t-shirt company or a retail company.
That's an understatement of the year. Had no idea. In fact, when I decided, here's what we're going to do. We're going to start a t-shirt company and a silkscreen company. So I went to a silkscreen store where they sell all the supplies. True story. I went in and said, hey, my name's Mark. I am starting a silkscreen company. And so I'd like to talk to you about supplies. He says, okay, what kind of machine do you have? I said, oh, I don't have a machine. He said, no, I'm serious. He said, no, I mean, like, what kind do you have? A manual? You have? Oh, no, I don't have a machine. He said, well, how are you going to make t-shirts if you don't have a silkscreen machine? He's incredulous. I said, that is a
great point. It's a great point.
So he stops. He says, so you have no supplies. You have, where's your place? I said, I don't have one yet. He said, oh my God, hold. So he goes, stand by. He calls the guy who's a Marine veteran. Jose is his name. He said, Jose, there's a guy who's going to call you now.
I got a guy.
Just do me a favor and take his call. He said, and she said, we're done here. Call me after what Jose says to you. So I said, Jose, it's Mark Doyle. I'm starting this company. He said, well, what do you need? I said, well, I need some places to work. And he said, you have a silkscreen company. He said, you want to bring them to my place to work? I said, I do, but I'll pay them. He said, you want to bring guys that don't know anything about this to my place to work on my machines? That's what you're proposing? I said, yeah, that's what I'm proposing. And he said, well, I'm going to charge you $10 an hour. I said, I want to pay 20. Done. When can they start? So he said, like, he didn't know what to say. He said, but I just bring him here tomorrow. So I went to the shelter, picked him up the next morning, drove to his place, and said, Jose, I'm Mark Doyle. Here's your new staff.
Right.
And greatest guy ever. Never charged me a dime. For
How about
1
that?
year, he trained him how to mix inks, how to shoot films, how to work a manual press, how to pull t-shirts for 1 full year, Jose.
So in the process, you're learning what you don't know.
Yeah.
And then you're having to invest in your company that wasn't a company. So you can have your own location, first of a couple, and you can bring in more, because the idea is you bring as many homeless vets in as possible who are willing to work, want to work, get them off the street. You started a parallel foundation to help them find housing.
That's right.
And the slogan says it all. What's the slogan for Rags?
They had our back. Let's keep the shirt on theirs.
And you are now how many years in?
10 years.
And tell me the numbers.
125.
125 people who would have otherwise been homeless.
120 were homeless.
Yeah, I'm saying continually homeless.
Yeah.
Suicide risks, addiction risks, all the things that go horribly with that, who now are productive members of society, finding their own happiness, maximizing their lives. I hope you take time, because I get choked up talking about it. I hope you take time to feel pretty good about yourself, because you should.
I do. That the sad news is there's just so much more to do, but like we talked about, we started a cafe downtown, and 2 people working for us at this cafe were homeless 9 months ago. And we got them out of a program, a homeless veteran program. We put them in the cafe. We trained them up. And Rose is now making barista drinks every day.
How
And we
about
just
that?
moved her into her own apartment. And Lewis gets his own apartment next week. So,
And who runs the cafe?
so his name is Dion West. Dion has been with
Okay.
me, a Navy veteran who was homeless when we hired him. He started off volunteering 10 years ago at Rags of Honor, pulling t-shirts for me. And he worked his way all the way up to through the apparel company over to the coffee company. We were running the operation and the roasting side. And when we got this opportunity, my roasting partner are the guys at Big Shoulders, great roasting company in Chicago. They took him into one of their many locations for 6 weeks and taught him how to open, how to close, how to make every cappuccino drink. Took so much time with him to train him up so that he could open and train Rose and train Lewis.
Now, in the process of all of this, I married you. And by that, I don't mean I married you. I married you to your lovely wife,
You
Kip.
did, in fact, yes.
And Kip is not only stunningly beautiful, she is also incredibly smart and a brilliant documentary filmmaker. She's got projects you're going to be hearing about coming soon. She was a big engine behind Veteran Roasters, I know,
She
and
funded it.
and now the VR Cafe. You're a heck of a team. And if it all ended tomorrow, this is again another memory. Let's get all the personal stuff out. I
Yeah.
remember standing in a hallway at WGN Radio with you, and you were in a tough spot. And we were trying to forge a partnership with the Blackhawks. You had been funding the company on your credit cards, basically. And because you have the largest heart since Secretariat, you weren't willing to give up even then. And I remember I looked in the eye and said, buddy, I love you. If it ends today, you've done 100 times more than anybody we know will ever do in their lives. But not only did you not quit, you went to the Blackhawks. And this is the previous regime. It's a little different now. But you went to the Blackhawks. They partnered with you. You got your way into Walmart and various other places that have turned Rags of Honor into a real force. And it's amazing that it's this far down the road. I don't know if it feels like 10 or 11 years to you, but it's been a busy 10 years. And I feel still like you're just getting started.
Thank you for that. Yes, it's gone quickly in one respect. And we almost went out of business at one point before COVID. We had a partner that walked away from me, as you might remember, just buried in debt. All of my credit cards. I had a second loan on my condo just to keep paying people there, just because I didn't want them to miss a payroll.
I remember at one point your credit rating was 6. And I said, that's too low, Mark. That's too low. We got to get that up.
No, I got it to 12 now, so we are good. Things are looking up for me. We just passed the 1 million t-shirt mark.
Oh, that's
for
great.
Walmart.
What a cool milestone. Yeah, I mean, it's very cool. So anyway, it's great gear. The holiday season's coming up as we record this on November 3rd. It's never too early to get yourself some presents for you and others because it's great gear. I mean, it's always been the best quality gear. The prices are great. And the money, it's not making Mark rich. It's rich in heart and love for these people who defended this country. And it is absolutely non-party related or affiliated.
It sure is.
You don't care if it's a Republican or a Democrat or an independent or an agnostic.
Nope.
You just want to help them.
The mission says it all, man. They had our back. Let's keep the shirt on there. So, as I say to people, it doesn't matter what you do in life. It only matters what you are. So, if you want to help a veteran, go to ragsofhonor.us, go to veteranroasters.com. Every bag of coffee, every hoodie, every ball cap, it's going to help somebody who you're never going to meet, but whose life you just changed.
Do you have, of those 120 plus, do you have a favorite story? I mean, I met a lot of your folks and they're all miracles to me. But is there one that jumps out? You go, you know what? Here's how I encompass the business. I want to tell you the story of.
So Dion is one, but Tamika, you remember Tamika?
Of course.
Tamika was a Navy veteran. Tamika was assaulted in the military, dealt with it, She deployed to Afghanistan, came back, deployed to Iraq, came back, struggled, had three children, and she had post-traumatic stress.
Living out of her car for a
He
period.
reported it up. She was reported it up the chain, and it got batted back down. So she had to live with it. So she had a couple of sisters, and she tried to move in with them, but she was having nightmares and night tremors, and it was really bad for her. So they said, "We'll take the kids, but I mean, you got to go find your own place. We'll help you out there." So she took the kids, and they were young. She went to live in a shelter, almost got raped in the shelter, escaped the shelter, lived in her car for 6 months. On weekends, she'd pick up the kids and tell them that they were camping, so they didn't know that she was homeless.
It's just, it's a,
Unbelievable story. She came to work for me, and she ended up running the whole back of the house operation.
yeah,
Then
a really bright lady, really bright lady, really
smart.
engaging. And with your help, she saved her own life.
Saved her life. Her son was tragically killed in a drive-by shooting.
Yeah, it's awful.
Then the second son got rammed into from behind, left for dead, broke every bone in his lower body. And so I just heard from her. We got her a place down in Houston. She needed some help to move in. She got a great job down there. She got her son moved down there with her.
Oh, that's great.
And that is a story of a woman literally from her car to a great life. And I had forgotten through a nonprofit that she had called me like a year ago and said, "Is there any way you could get me $1,000?" Totally forgot about it. And I said, "Of course, cash after the money." 2 weeks ago, she, "Hey, Mark, it's Tamika. I'm going to cash back you back that $1,000. I never forget
Wow.
what you did for me."
Wow. That's crazy. Because I
So
know when you send her that money, like anybody else you're trying to help, you don't expect to ever see it again because,
yeah.
yeah, and it's not about their
I forgot
character.
about it,
Yeah,
frankly.
yeah, yeah.
Totally
Yeah.
forgot.
Well, again, it's a miraculous story, and it starts with Rags of Honor, ragsofhonor.us. And you're doing something at the VR Cafe, Veteran Roasters Cafe, over the next few days. We're in the middle of this. Here's the segue into how we're trying to save America.
Yeah.
But you made a point in a video that popped on social today where you said, look, everybody's got to do their part. So we're doing our part, and here's what we're doing. So what are you doing?
We're calling it Buy One, Give One week. So for every cup of coffee, cup tea, muffin you buy, we're going to match it. And so at the end of this week, and it may go beyond this, we are going to match every single dollar that we make, that we ring up this week. I'm writing a check to the local food bank.
Yeah, Chicago Food Depository.
Yeah, Chicago Food Depository. And we've got a GoFundMe as well. But as I said in my video, we are the wealthiest country in the world. And there are 40 million people who aren't going to be able to have groceries.
It's insane. It's so repulsive.
Insanity.
You know, until this week, most of you probably didn't know that 1 in 8 American families are food insecure, and they count on what we used to call food stamps, SNAP benefits. So even if you take the dignity piece out of it, the struggle that people are under in any way, shape, or form, these are good people just trying to feed their family. And I don't care.
10% are veterans.
Yeah, there you go.
Another 8% are active military.
Yeah, active military. So if you can help, I hope you will. Tell them where if you're in the Chicago area, where is VR Cafe?
161 North Clark Street. So we are on the east side of the street, across from the old State of Illinois Center at Randolph and Clark.
Okay, and Rags of Honor has links to everything. You can go there at ragsof.us. When we met, we were swapping stories of people we'd come across. I've been lucky enough to meet just about everybody I'd ever want to, and a lot of people I didn't care that much about over the course of my time. And you had this amazing run in politics. Now, you're a lifelong Democrat, but you're the least Democrat I know. In that, you're more than willing to call out the shortcomings of your own party. You know me, I'm a balls and strikes guy. If you're doing it right, I'll tout it. If you're doing it wrong, I'll thump you. And I think that's where we all need to live right now. So this isn't about being a Democrat. This isn't about banging on Trump. There are some things that are just wrong. And to build a fucking ballroom, well, 10% of, well, 1 in 8 American families are struggling. Forget about the bad taste. To redo the Lincoln bedroom of the people's house, forget about the bad taste and the bad idea.
Yeah.
Just the optics of it tell you everything you need to know about the guy in charge. So we have to take care of ourselves. And the great frustration I run across, Mark, is people going, okay, so what do we do? What do we do? Congress sucks. Congress has the approval rating of a bad fungus right now.
Yeah.
Actually, I just got the note, fungus rated higher. Fungus, fungus,
Well done.
dryer lint, weasels, then Congress. Okay, that's
Yeah.
the bottom four.
Yep.
So,
Got the same
so
one.
you can't count on Congress. You clearly, with each decision, find out you can't count on the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
So the only way I know how to fix this is to be active, to stay active, and to be involved. And God bless these No Kings marches because they're great. But what do they do when they go home? Because a social post, that's not fixing it.
Yeah.
It all helps. But what do we do? And you and I talked on the phone the other day, and I think your premise is brilliant. That you got to build it from the you got to rebuild it from the ground back up.
So the curious thing about especially this discussion, and especially with independents, and even some now in what we'll call red states, complaining about the state of our government and where DC is and how ineffectual they are. The curious thing about that is almost everything that the majority of people, especially in the middle, agree on is that there should be some help for prescription drugs because they were too expensive, especially if you had diabetes, like insulin was so darn expensive. An infrastructure bill that helped rebuild bridges, train tracks, roads, really, really important. Ingress, egress to bring businesses here,
Sure.
to put people to work. The multiplication, I think it's 11 to 1, is for every $1 you spend, you multiply it by 11, because if you're building a bridge and people are going back to work in Western Pennsylvania, they have more money to go out at night. They go to a movie, they buy a new bicycle. And so there's a multiplier event to this. So having an infrastructure bill that provided 10 years of work across multiple generations,
It's a huge deal.
having a part of that infrastructure bill and part of the American Recovery Act was broadband. And about 60% of it was in rural areas. And the reason I bring these up are, these are things that, and again, I don't want to be political about it. Every one of these things, 100% voted yes, Democrats. Every Republican voted no.
Right.
He voted no on the PACT Act. The PACT Act provided that the VA cover all the cancers related to burn pit exposure. Every Republican voted no. Shocking.
And correct me if I'm wrong, every Republican initially voted no until Jon Stewart made it an issue to reinstitute the guys that worked the pile, the 9/11 cancer funding.
That one almost went away. It sunsetted until John Field, who was a former firefighter,
Yep.
Jon Stewart, just we went to one of the rallies outside the Capitol. And so all that is to say is we are at a period now where the people in power quite literally voted against everything that would have helped middle America.
Well, they're
And
voting against decency. They're voting against humanity. And they don't care that they're hurting their own people.
they
The
don't
stuff that
seem to.
the stuff that you heard behind closed doors when you were working in the White House in the 90s and the 2000s out on the campaign trail, that was the stuff that wasn't said. Somebody might disagree with the sitting president at that time and they'd say it, but they wouldn't say it out loud. They're not saying it out loud. The polling can come back and say 75, 80% of America, 85, I haven't seen the latest numbers, said release the Epstein files.
Yeah.
Don't care. Don't
Yeah.
care. All they care about is making sure they stay in office, get their 176 or 86,000. Plus, I think it's an average of about 2 million a year in expenses, along with all the extras you can drum up. That's what they care about. They care about their job. They don't care about you. The failing of the Democrats on this is not having a plan and not having any idea how to combat the dumbest president in the history of the United States, who has no conscience and no soul and is willing to hurt anybody he needs to, so he feels like it's another good day to be Donald Trump. So the
polling
frustration.
on this, the polling on this, we've done a lot of research over the last year. And when asked to describe the Democratic Party, weak and woke. And so what we saw was, if legislatively, every single thing that Biden, literally every bill that Biden passed that got 100% Democratic votes, infrastructure bill, Chips and Science Act, which brought manufacturing back here,
Yep.
PACT Act, the bailout of the labor funds, all of it was designed for Main Street, not Wall Street.
Right.
Every single thing he did was designed to help Main Street, not Wall Street. That's not me saying it. That's a group of economists about midway through his term. Where the wheels came off for them is he refused to acknowledge, and he had people around him who wouldn't let him acknowledge, that inflation was still too high, that prices were still too high, that even though our economy was better than anybody else in the world, eggs and bacon and milk was too expensive. And yes, we had a problem at the border. Acknowledge it. Acknowledge it.
Right.
Here's something your listeners probably don't know. In Biden's first 2 years, he deported 250,000 illegals, more than Trump did. But what happened is they hung around their neck that they're for open borders, they only care about LGBTQ, and that became the through line. If you look where Democrats lost down the stretch, they lost about 6% with Black women, 4 to 6% with Hispanic men, with Black men, and a lot of it were on these social issues. The reason I bring all that up is one of the things Biden used to say is, don't tell me what your priorities are. Show me your budget. Show me your budget. And if you look at the budget of this current administration, it does not benefit the working class people.
No.
And so what do you do? No. Here's what you do. And here's what.
Well, first off, I want to reiterate something you just said. There are two economies, and it never has been talked about enough. There's the real people economy and the Wall Street economy.
Yeah.
The Wall Street economy is crucial for business. It's crucial for running capitalism on all levels. But without, as you said, without Biden acknowledging the real people economy, and certainly Trump will never do it, you don't acknowledge the fact that people are going broke. And the Affordable Care Act is the big issue right now with getting the government reopened. And I saw a statistic last night that just blew my mind, that the average family who has been paying somewhere between $6,000 and $8,000 with the huge deductibles and various things for a family of four will now pay $34,000 in premiums in a year. And that's just one example, one slice. So with the premise that there are two economies, the real economy and the other economy, we got to fix it. So how do we fix it if the people in charge get to make the rules and they have no incentive to change the rules? Where do we start?
You got to win one race at a time. You have to win one race at a time. And this is what I've said to people we work with. There is no magic. There's no silver bullet. There's no magic elixir. You want to change the face of DC. You want to get this government back in the hands of people who really literally understand what working class people go through. Win one race. Win the Democratic, for instance, Mikey Sherrill, who was a former helicopter pilot and just had a stellar career in the Navy and a prosecutor. She should win. You win that race. You win the Virginia race, and you find House races that are lean red, and go win those races. Go win one race at a time. Win a House race, win a governor's race, win a mayor's race. You want to make long-term investment? Win mayor's races, because mayors have the pulse of the people, and mayors are very influential.
Sure.
So we are going to spend our time working with the National Mayors Association. We're going to work with the DSCC, and try and think about this. By 2032, when the new census comes out, Democrats will lose so much population in states that have now performed what they call the blue wall, that it will be impossible for there to be a Democratic president, probably, and even Democratic House members, because of shifting populations. So Democrats and people listening to this, when I say Democrats, I'm talking about people who literally care about having food on the table, being able to afford insurance and groceries. Let me tell you something about these quote illegal aliens. Do you know how much they pay into Social Security every year? $6 billion.
Right.
They will
Right.
never see a dime of it because they're
Right.
not.
And here's the other dirty little secret. For everybody that's bitching about illegal aliens and has bought into all the lies coming out of the White House, tell me how an alien, illegal or otherwise, has hurt you. Did they not bust your table fast enough when you went out to a nice lunch or a dinner? Did they not cut your lawn in the way you wanted? Tell me how they've put you in danger. And I know those are cliches, but I'm just trying to make the larger point here.
Tell me
That
what job
everybody
you took from you.
complaining about it hasn't been harmed by anyone who's in this argument. And there's no way that you can take away the cruelty of rounding up people who are U.S. citizens or even people who have been illegal but have been paying their fair ways here for a long time and taking them away from their kids or picking them up on Halloween and all the other hideous things that are going on. Where's the human?
So here's what I would say to the people who say, yeah, we need to get those illegals off the streets. All right, if you want to really affect crime in major urban areas, then why don't you take ICE and why don't you appropriate for the local police officers new weaponry, new not just tactical gear, but abilities to surveil. In Chicago, for instance, you're down there literally chasing poor Mexican delivery guys on a bicycle.
Right.
You want to fight crime? Go to Austin. In Chicago, at least till a couple of years ago, 60-some% of the crime was in 6 zip codes.
Yep.
You want to fight crime? You want to go get the worst of the worst? Then deploy ICE and with the Chicago police into the worst areas in the city.
Yeah,
Now
with
I'm
the
with-
appropriate
now you
with
got
the
my vote.
with the appropriate mission and training, not thuggery, but to go in and maintain the law and keep the peace for the
Execute
night.
search warrants, take
Yeah,
down violent
right,
crimes.
right.
Go do
Right.
it. Like
Right, because
that's what I talk
there's
about where Democrats miss the point. Democrats ought to say, Mr. President, tomorrow morning, when you're putting your makeup on, say to yourself, look at why don't I really help these cities? And why don't I do what Biden did and what Clinton did 30 years ago? They passed the crime bill, which put 100,000 more cops on the streets.
right.
They drove down violent crime. They broke up the gangs. I agree. You think there's too many crime-ridden cities? I'm with you. Then why don't we go after the crime and leave all the bussers and the
Landscapers and all the people
landscapers
busting their ass, the farmers.
and delivery guys alone?
Yeah, 100%. And the thing is, the far left and the far right are always the problem. They are never the solution.
Right.
And in the case of Chicago, which is somewhere in the low teens when it comes to a murder rate, for instance, even though statistical crime is hideous just talking about it. Everything you've heard about Chicago, if you're watching or listening to this outside of Chicago, isn't true. Isn't true.
Yeah.
That's why Chicago consistently gets rated at one of the greatest cities in the world, one of the greatest places to visit, one of the greatest places to live. Having said that, the police here, the hardworking, well-trained police, have been symbolically handcuffed by a far left push that if kids get stopped, they deserve a break. If a kid steals $999 and will walk into a Walgreens and leaves, that's a misdemeanor. And oh, by the way, and the cops can't chase him. Can't.
Yeah.
When you handcuff the local police to do the job, laws cannot be upheld and taken care of. And then, of course, you turn them over to the courts, and the cops who risk their lives every day to round up the bad guys, whatever persuasion they are, see them back on the street the next day. That's not how you do it. That's not good for anybody.
No.
So for the far left to get that message is a big problem, and they need to. And there needs to be a coalescence around 2028. But there's no point in talking about 2028 because 2026 is the first step.
2026.
So
Just as
tell
a
me,
sidebar, do you know the most violent state in the nation?
no,
Louisiana, by far.
Louisiana, deep red Louisiana.
By far.
Yeah, there you go. St. Louis, which is in Missouri, which is very much a red state. St. Louis, huge crime problem.
Memphis.
Memphis, gigantic crime problem. And so it goes. Crime is not about party. Crime is about character and opportunity. And if somebody commits a crime, they need to face justice, legitimate justice.
Full stop. Right?
That's it. All right. So tell me from your experience in DC, if somebody says, well, you know, I called my congressman and they're not talking to me. I leave a message. I don't even know if they get it. You know, somebody's running for election. I don't know how I get involved in helping them run. What do people do? What do people do to get involved to do this when one race at a time idea?
You need to go. So it starts with knowing who your congressperson is. And it's interesting. You know, that's one of the questions on the naturalized citizen exam.
Mm-hmm.
Is, you know, who's your representative?
Right.
8 out of 10 citizens born
Can't
here
name them.
cannot tell you.
Right.
And so first it starts with awareness. Look up your zip code. Who is my state rep, my state senator, my congressperson? You should know who your senator is, but let's say you don't. You can look it up.
It's a Google search away.
It's a Google search. Find they run every 2 years. So if you want to get involved, call Mike Quigley's office, for instance, Congressman Quigley, and say, I want to volunteer. I want to help Mike Quigley in his neck. They will, 99.9% of the time, they have a volunteer coordinator and they'll take your name and your number and you will get a call when they're doing a volunteer event, especially when you get ramped up for the reelection. You just got to show up. And on so many of the presidential campaigns, that like I started with Bill Clinton in 91, the guy who ended up being he was a White House liaison at transportation eventually. He drove down from Chicago. He was the recycling guy on the first Clinton campaign.
Wow. Wow.
He just walked up and said, I'll do anything. Pete Dager was his name, from Chicago.
Right. And he just wanted to be involved.
I'll do anything. So if you really mean it, find out. And by the way, if you just want to work for the mayor, call the mayor's office. They all, because she ran for years. And call your state rep. Find out.
And I'm glad you mentioned Quigley, because Quigley is Democrat in label only. He is one of the most centrist, willing to do what needs to be done, get it done guys who really cares and really wants to help. So Quigley's a good example. But you mentioned the mayors. The same thing goes for your mayors. And I always come back to that hula hoop thing I told you about years ago. Throw a hula hoop on the ground in your driveway. Spin around 360 degrees. Fix everything you can see first. Stop worrying about what's going on where you can't see it or where you get frustrated because you can't do anything about it. Fix your schools. Fix your neighborhood. Fix the crime in your area. Start a neighborhood watch program. If you're inclined and have the energy, see what it's like to run. Look into possibly running. And don't think you can't win, because you can. And then find candidates who you legitimately believe want to do the right thing, who are going to go and change the rules for the people, not for the people with the jobs, and start to change things. It won't be fixed in your lifetime or mine, but if you really want to save America, look at your kids and your grandkids, because they need the help right now.
One thing you know for certain, let's say that you are on empty and your car's on. If you don't stop and get gas, the car's not going to run.
100%.
If you don't get involved, you can make sure that you're not going to make an impact.
Right.
If you don't make one phone call, this requires dedication. This requires commitment. And yeah, it's hard. And it's hard right now because if you look out, whether you believe in climate change or not, climate's changing. You don't have to believe in it. It is changing around the world. It
Yeah,
is
climate change doesn't care if you believe. It's happening.
doesn't care. And it doesn't care how it got there. It just is happening.
Right.
If you if you believe that crime is rampant in your neighborhood, then go to your point, do something. Ask 5 neighbors. One thing you find out in life, and it's very interesting. I remember taking this class a long time ago. In your life, go and try and get 10 no's in a day. Go and try and get it's hard to get 10 no's. You know why? Because most people want to say yes.
Right.
Most people
Exactly right.
want to say yes. So do the next right thing. You want to make a difference. Win where your feet are. Win every day where your feet are.
It's
And
great.
then, right, make a difference where you, that is our guiding principle at RAGS. You've heard me say it 100 times. Am I going to change the whole world? Nope. Am I changing the world around me? I think I am. And so that's you want to make a difference? Call somebody you can make a difference. Volunteer at a food bank. Volunteer at a shelter. Call the mayor's office. Call your state rep's office. Call your state senator's office. Go get involved and
do it
be of service.
and do it for the people you love.
Be of service.
It's the only way we're going to turn this around.
That's it.
I mean, that's it. It's Mark Doyle. He's smarter than the rest of us. He's nicer than the rest of us. And he's still handsome, and he still has his hair, which, of course, I'm a little bitter about. Please, this week, go to 161 North Clark. If you're in Chicago or going to be here, go to the Veteran Roasters, the VR Cafe. Everything you spend there is going to be matched and contributed to the Chicago Food Bank. And if you're listening around the country, around the world, wherever your church or your local food banks are, please look into helping them. You also said you have a GoFundMe page?
Fund me, yep.
Just look up VR Cafe, I assume?
Yeah. Just pull up No Kid Hungry. GoFundMe and pull up No Kid Hungry.
Okay. And ragsofhonor.us for everything else?
.org, yeah.
Or .org.
Yeah, that's for the nonprofit. So all that's tax deductible, ragsof.org. So you'll see it when you go to the GoFundMe page.
All right, and thank you for doing this again, and God bless you, man. My best to Kip, and you and I'll talk.
I will.
All right, this is the awkward part now, where you wrap up a podcast and nobody quite knows how to hang up fast enough.
I'm gonna hang up now.
Awkward. All right, reach for the out.
And
reach for
we
it.
are out.
It's my friend Mark Doyle, and please support whatever he's doing. Thank you for listening. This is Live from My Office. Again, read me on Substack, and also look for Anything But Politics and Live from My Office wherever you get your podcasts, including our YouTube channel. CochranShow.com has everything, including our show coming up on November the 15th, where these guys, Mike Toomey and Tim Benker, join me, Steve Cochran, on stage. Tickets at ParamountAurora.com or CochranShow.com. Get them now. Stand-up comedy. And at 5 and 8 o'clock on the 15th, that's just 2 days before my new left knee surgery. I'm getting a new left knee. Yeah, pretty sweet. Yeah, I had a new right knee put in about 4 or 5 years ago. It's great. Now I'm getting a new left knee because the older you get, shit wears out. And it's good because the right knee being new, that knee just wants to run. The left knee just wants to sit. So for the last 4 years, I've been just spinning in circles, and I get very dizzy. So when I get this new knee, just a couple of days later on the 17th, look out. Look out. If you're in traffic in 2026 and you see an old bald guy run by you really fast, it's probably me. Thank you, Ross Cochran, for producing Live from My Office. Thank you again to Mark Doyle and everybody in the Rags of Honor business. See you next time on Live from My Office.